I just always breathe easy when somebody approves something and says they like it, because I really never know. I have no idea. That thing that pleases my ear doesn't necessarily please everybody's ear. That doesn't really matter. You know, I have to sit here and enjoy what I can do to a project and then send it out with the confidence that I've done the best that I can with it. When I got out of graduate school, I was looking for work, and I was working back at a shoe store, a ladies' shoe store in Flushing, Queens. And I went to a party, and at the party I met a guy that worked at a studio in New York. And I was like, wow, a recording studio. I'd never been to a recording studio. He said, what studio? It was Record Plant. Who do you work with? He says, well, John Lennon's in there all the time. I was like, man, if you ever need any help, call me up. And I ended up getting a job on the remote truck. And then I started to be an assistant engineer. Like I was sitting there working the tape machine, rewind, you know, there's no auto locate. So it's like rewind, stop, rewind, stop, rewind, stop, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. It's driving me crazy. And I go up to the cutting room. It was like a lot of action. It was like a little bit more action. And I found that I acclimated to it a little bit better, like the little isolation aspect of it, the focus, the concentration. And I started to feel more at home in the cutting room. And then all of a sudden these projects started rolling in. David Bowie, Bruce Springsteen. I mean, come on, Eric Carmen, who just passed away. Big acts, Three Dog Night. I don't know, just there was Moody Blues. You know, it was just unbelievable what was rolling into that place. And I got a chance to get my name on some records. And one thing led to the other. I ended up getting a call from Sterling Sound at one point. You want to come over here in 1976? And well, what year is it now? I'm still here with a little break in between, 3-year break. I can hear a project and go like, this needs to have some analog texture to it. I don't need to shoot it out. But sometimes it's like, this has got like really, everything's really like quick and clear. And like if I slow that up a little bit, is that warmth going to change the impact? Because really all, you know, a lot of music is impact is the thing. It doesn't have impact. So am I going to reduce the impact because I want my ears to get a warmer signal? So these are all the decisions that I have to make. And then the more tools I have to be able to kind of manipulate that, really the better up to a certain point. If too many tools, and you never get anything done. The converter that I had been using, or that I still do use, I've known from the beginning that this was a very clinical and clear converter, and I've always wanted to have a warmer, the ability to bring some warmth, particularly into a digital project. The piece that I've been fortunate enough that I incorporated into my setup here, the MBC, when I saw it and heard the flexibility that I had as a creative tool, I was happy to know that you guys have embarked on something like this. I deal with like light and dark a lot in my choices, and I try to kind of bring things in as close to my ear as possible before I start EQing. So if I can get there with a converter either on the front end, D to A, or on the A to D side, then it really helps me. By having the warmth of the transformer has been just exactly what I was looking for. So that's why I immediately was intrigued by it. And then when I started to learn the little subtleties, it became even better. I was surprised how flexible this is in terms of what the silk was doing. And it just has given me an additional thing to do, which is not specific like an equalizer would be. It's just kind of a general tone control. And it's very powerful to kind of get me closer. And if you looked at my EQ notes prior to using this and after using this, you'd see way less EQ with this. Way less EQ than I used to use. Because I incorporated it early in the project, or if it's one tune, like it's one of the first things I do is check the D to A converter and check the A to D converter. So both of those things. So now I'm adjusting and balancing, and now because of the flexibility of the silk with this controller, I can really dial it in. And then when I realize what that's doing, then song by song, rather than adding some 400 cycles, say, or some super sub bottom or whatever, I can kind of dial it with that. And then when I want to get really specific inside the mix, then I can kind of zero in a little bit with an equalizer with the Sontec, and then further get, with some of the plugins kind of dig in too. So yeah, so it's been, I mean, it's just Ergonomically, operationally, it's kind of like perfect, like user, like as far as the user, it just goes with the way I work. I will always look at the red first. If I feel the red is just a little bit too round for what I'm looking for, I will go to the blue. But between the red and the blue, I find that the blue is more transparent if that's what I'm looking for, because I'm using it as a color. You know, I'm using it, it's funny, red, blue, but I'm coloring the sound either with a warm sheen or a more transparent sheen. I think that having the tools gives you less of an opportunity to not care. You know what I mean? Like, well, did I really try that? You know, did I really look at everything I could do from that piece of gear or from, any of the other stuff I have in my rack? So I don't know. I keep trying to make the job challenging, and the only way I can do that is by caring.